Kyle, welcome here to Daytona. And if you could just start off by telling us a little bit about your off season, what you did for fun.
Well, it's good to be back. Certainly, it's maybe a little too soon, but anyways, certainly wish we'd have some on-track activity here this morning. That's unfortunate with the weather, the way it's been cooperating or hasn't been cooperating for us. So that's a shame, but all in all, fun off season. Just had a good time at home, being able to relax, and of course, Samantha and I's anniversary was a week ago, and was just enjoying some time with some friends, and being able to celebrate together as well.
Great. We'll open the floor to questions. Please raise your hand and state your name and affiliation. We're going to start up here with Lee.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. With Rick Runn's departure, what's the management structure going to look like at KBM now?
Self-management. Everybody's doing their own deal. The crew chiefs manage themselves. The business guys manage themselves. There's just not enough funding in order to, have Ren on board and to be able to handle the general management roles as well as the competition director role. Just, it was a spot that we wanted to have in order to, build the company and make the operation into what it is today. And without Ren, it never would have been possible that way. But with his contract coming to a close, I couldn't see it to, to continue to pay him and to be able to not be able to make ends meet at the end of these seasons. So, it just wasn't in our best interest as a whole at Busch Motorsports, and being able to have the people that we still do have there. And it's unfortunate, I'd love to keep Ren. I think he was a great part of our company, and especially from where it started in 2010 to today.
Go next here to Kenny, over to Dustin.
Kenny Bruce from NASCAR.com. Kyle, it sounds like you kind of were able to disconnect a little bit during the off season. Was that any more the case than in years past, or?
No, actually, unfortunate. I think that we haven't been able to disconnect enough this season. There's been a lot going on. I mean, the banquet was just the first week of December, and then we had a test. I think it was the week after. We actually had a 50-degree day in Nashville, so we were there testing trucks. And then, we did have a Christmas week there that was away. It was with family and wasn't doing much racing stuff. But there's been a lot of things at KBM that's been having to be addressed, and we've been needing to discuss things. And of course, we're building things, and the Toyota parts and pieces from NASCAR haven't quite been able to come through as quickly as we would have liked them to. So we're way behind on building stuff. So we've got stuff all torn apart, ready, waiting for pieces. But all in all, it's I feel like, this Daytona test, from what I remember, I used to remember it being the end of January, and for some reason it's the beginning of January. So it takes away time from people being able to get stuff prepared, and I just think we're here too soon, in my opinion. But it is what it is. They put a date out there and say you got to be here. We're here.
Go next to Dustin.
Dustin Long, MRN.com. Kyle, Brian Francis talked a couple times since the season about incentivizing winning and risk-taking. Certainly that's a reaction to what some fans will say about the racing or what they've seen about the racing in the past. I'm curious, what's your response to when people talk about that? Because that's almost an inferring or a suggestion that you guys aren't doing enough, that you guys aren't busting your rear end enough to go for the win. Is that something that bothers you? Is that being inferred in that sense? Is that you guys suddenly need more incentive to go win a race? Or with the way the money plays the sport, it is needed?
Yeah, it kind of doesn't make sense. In a way, you look at the point structure and you try to say, well, you need to award winning more. Okay, well, go down the list of the last 5, 6, 7 years on who's won the most races. It's Jimmy Johnson. So you're going to award a guy who wins all the races more points, and he already has the consistency? I think what you're looking at is you're trying to take away the bad days. So if you have a bad day, if you finished in the 30s or the 40s or something to that effect, and you can go back the next week and you can win, essentially you're knocking back those bad finishes. You're just increasing your average finishing position, right? So it's not for a guy that wins a lot that needs to be incentivized to win. It's for the bad days to essentially recompensate for the lack of points that you earned on those days.
Would that work? I mean, you certainly had your good and bad days, but you've had some bad days that kind of put you in the chase. I mean, what would that do for you if something like that happened?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, sure, for me, if I was able to have a couple bad days, which you don't want, but if you have a couple bad days in the chase, for myself, I don't remember what they were. Kansas for one. What was the other one? Martinsville maybe was my second worst finish or something like that. 15th, 14th. So to be able to go out there, you still got to win in the final 10 races to be able to, get back those points. But, it's not really going to help you a whole lot if you've got Jimmy Johnson, who's going to win 2 or 3 chase races and finish consistently. You're just not going to be able to overcome that. So, there's a lot of teams out here that look at ourselves in the mirror and wonder why we can't do what they do. But yet, we got to try, and this is a whole new season.
Go next to Dwight. Go to Dwight and then to Woody.
Dwight Drum, RaceDate.com. Kyle, as far as it's a long season, obviously, is there any part of the season that you like better than others? And is there any part that gives you more energy coming in? Or
yeah, I would admit that the beginning of the season's always just you're sort of the freshest. It's a lot easier to come out of the gate and feel revived and refreshed and ready to go and tackle a whole new season. It's a fresh start. You're not behind in any points. Essentially you just look to try to, build as big of a margin of cushion as you can to start instead of having to be at the end of the season and come from behind, So I like the beginning of the year. I think the Daytona's Daytona. Daytona, if you can win it, great. It really doesn't mean a whole lot. I think the first 5 races don't really mean a whole lot. It's more about learning your team, getting the chemistry going, building whether you have a new car or just the new chemistry within your team, and just being able to build, put your building blocks together in the first 5 weeks. And then it's on from, week 6 to 26, essentially. And so you've got 20 weeks to prove yourself and make it in the chase.
We're going to go next here to Woody, and then we're going to go to Alan, then to Lee.
Woody Kane Motor Racing Network. Kyle, just wanted to get your thoughts on being a teammate with Sam Hornish on the nationwide side.
Yeah, I think that's a great addition for us. It's, going to really help our program out, I believe. I liked Owen Kelly. He was great last year driving for us. Drew Herring was great driving for us last year, but just a little bit of inexperience on their parts, maybe cost us a few points here or there, but also no doubt I cost myself a few points as well. And at the end of the deal, we missed the championship by 1 point. So I feel like Sam Hornish is a contender each and every week. He's been a guy that can run up front. He's proven himself the last few years in the nationwide competition that, he's a force to be reckoned with week in, week out for those victories. So I think that he could be a huge addition to our team, and it brings along some consistency as well, too, with just myself and he behind the wheel and having Adam not have driver of the week, per se, in the car and trying to figure out different drivers and whatnot.
Go to Alan next, then to Lee.
Alan Cavada, NASCAR.com. Are you sticking around to test the truck next week? And how is your truck program in terms of driver lineup and sponsors for 2014?
Yeah, I'm going home, but I'll be back Monday, and I'll be here for the truck test. So, unfortunately, my young wheelman, Eric Jones, is not old enough to test here, so I get stuck with the duties of that. Looking forward to getting the truck here, though, and just kind of learning some things, seeing what the aero package is like, besides the time we spent with it in Nashville. Driver lineup is myself and Eric Jones behind the wheel, number 51 Toyota Cara Tundra and Dollar General Tundra for four races. And then Darrell Wallace will be behind the wheel of his number 54 Toyota Cara Tundra as of right now, and we're still putting together the rest of the sponsor lineup on that one.
We'll go to Lee and back over to Claire.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. Can you talk a little bit about Dave Wilson and, since he's kind of taken the lead over from Lee White and as the interim, how he's grown in that role over the last year?
Yeah, David's done a really nice job. I think he's sort of brought in a little bit more continuity to the organization with TRD. I think the chassis and the engine guys, I think they have now, there's not a whole lot of comparison between the two where they would work together, but I feel like they are working together as one more often. I feel like the TRD guys on the truck and nationwide level do a great job for helping those teams that are there. And of course the Cup support as well too. I mean, whether it's Michael Waltrip, who's got 10 or 20 engineers, or JGR, who's got 20 or 25 engineers, there's still a need to spread out the workload, and TRD does a great job for us, and Wilson is obviously a huge part of that, as well as the rest of the guys in Salisbury. But Wilson's role on the engine side, I feel like, has come along, and the beginning of the year last year started out really, really well. I felt like we kind of tapered off a little bit towards the middle, and then the end sort of got better again too. So, excited to see what the offseason brought those guys and essentially what it brings us. But I feel like he's got a good leadership role. He's got a good direction, and we're looking forward to working with him continually.
Okay, we're going to wrap up here with Claire B. Lang.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. How soon can you tell where Joe Gibbs Racing is this season? Teams start strong. Roush Fenway struggled a little last year, kind of ahead of the game. Stewart Haas Racing says they're way ahead of the game from last year. How soon can you tell? I mean, obviously cars haven't gotten on the track here, but as a competitor, do you even really know until you kind of get into the season?
Yeah, I mean, if there was any indication in the Charlotte test, the 4 car was ultimately the best car there. The 42 was the second best car there. The RCR cars, they were okay. They were kind of like us. I don't think we were all that great. I mean, we were essentially a 10th place organization when we were there during that test. So it was interesting for sure with the new rules and everything the way they are. We learned quite a bit of just what's going on with our stuff and our equipment, and what we need to try to work on continually through these, from that test until we get to, say, Phoenix or California or Vegas. And, so as far as how soon can you tell where organizations are, I mean, that's kind of like what I was mentioning earlier about the 5 races. You definitely work through the first 5 races. You kind of try different things. You experiment a bit, and you kind of pick a package that you want to attack with, and you go down that path, and that's the path you need to stick with. So, whether it's an organization or whether it's a team, the 18 team might go down a path that they feel comfortable with, where the 11 might go down another path and the 20 might go down another, and we may end up merging back together, say week 10 or 12 or something like that. But that's sort of how I feel like the years have gone with being at JGR, and I think it's been, I wouldn't say more controlled, but I would say it's just been more uniform the last 2 or 3 years with the crew chiefs that we now have on board, and the way that their camaraderie is, and the way that they work together.